The skies over Israel are now a battleground, transformed each night into a theater of high-stakes defense and relentless attack. Lit up nightly by interceptors racing to meet Iranian missiles, the horizon glows with the flash of explosions and the streaks of defensive fire. This is no longer a distant proxy conflict, it's a direct confrontation above Israeli cities, where the threat is visible and immediate. Air raid sirens and explosions have become the new normal, shaking the foundations of regional security and forcing civilians to adapt to a life under constant threat. Modern warfare in the Middle East has arrived, not with armies marching across borders, but with swarms of precision-guided munitions and drones that strike from afar. The era of strategic ambiguity is over. Missile trajectories and radar screens now define the conflict, as technology and real-time intelligence shape every decision. For Israelis, the threat is immediate and personal, their safety dependent on a complex, costly defensive shield that must work flawlessly, night after night. Every neighborhood is a potential target, every home a possible front line, as families huddle together in shelters listening for the next siren. Every citizen is a participant in a war of nerves. Iran's strategy is clear: terrorize, disrupt, and keep the population in a state of constant anxiety. The goal is to prove that nowhere in Israel is safe, to undermine confidence and test the limits of Israel's resilience. The world watches as Israel faces an unprecedented barrage of missiles, drones, and rockets, with global media capturing every moment of this high-tech conflict. Never before has a nation relied so heavily on a multi-layered shield for survival, with each system working in concert to intercept threats from land, air, and sea. The outcome will not only decide the fate of Israel and Iran, but also reshape the strategic landscape of the Middle East, influencing alliances and future conflicts. A new, more dangerous chapter in regional conflict has begun, one where technology, strategy, and the will of ordinary people will determine the future. For decades, Israel and Iran fought a shadow war. Covert operations, cyber attacks, and proxy battles waged in the shadows. Intelligence agencies on both sides orchestrated sabotage missions, targeted assassinations, and digital intrusions, all while denying involvement. The world watched as tensions simmered but rarely boiled over into open conflict. But in April 2024, the rules changed dramatically. Covert strikes gave way to direct missile exchanges, shattering the illusion of plausible deniability. For the first time, both nations openly acknowledged their roles in the attacks, signaling a dangerous new phase. Each side tested the other's limits, escalating from deniable attacks to open warfare. Military forces mobilized, and the world braced for the possibility of a wider regional conflict, as the stakes grew higher with every exchange. Iran's massive retaliatory strike shattered the old equilibrium, marking the start of direct state-on-state conflict. Cities that once felt distant from the front lines now faced the terrifying reality of missile barrages and air raid sirens. Now, every action risks immediate, massive retaliation. Military leaders on both sides weigh every move, knowing that a single miscalculation could ignite a much larger war. The June 2025 missile wave was a direct response to Israel's Operation Rising Lion, which crippled parts of Iran's arsenal and sent shockwaves through the region. The tit-for-tat strikes have left both militaries on constant alert. This cycle of attack and counterattack has locked both nations into a perilous dance, inching the region toward catastrophe. Civilians live in fear, and the international community scrambles to prevent further escalation. The roots of this rivalry stretch back to Iran's 1979 revolution, transforming it from ally to Israel's most determined foe. Decades of mistrust, ideological opposition, and regional ambitions have fueled this enduring conflict. After 40 years of animosity, the conflict has finally erupted into open war, with the skies as the new battlefield. The world now watches anxiously, hoping for restraint as the specter of a wider war looms ever closer. Iran's military doctrine is built on asymmetric warfare, not matching Israel's technology but overwhelming it. Its arsenal, thousands of rockets, advanced ballistic and cruise missiles, and swarms of drones, is designed for saturation. By launching hundreds of munitions from multiple directions, Iran aims to overwhelm Israel's finite air defenses. The economic disparity is stark. Cheap Iranian drones force Israel to use expensive interceptors. Iran's strategy is to drain Israel's resources, making defense unsustainable. Recent barrages show this in action. Slow drones map defenses, cruise missiles evade radar, and ballistic missiles descend from above. Iran doesn't need every missile to hit, just enough to prove its deterrent is real and erode Israeli morale. The numbers game is relentless, and even a few successful strikes can have outsized psychological and strategic impact. This is the essence of Iran's approach: quantity, persistence, and economic attrition. Israel's answer is a multi-layered missile defense, the most advanced in the world. Iron Dome intercepts short-range rockets and drones, protecting cities from lower-tier threats. David's Sling bridges the gap, targeting medium to long-range rockets and cruise missiles. At the top, Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 intercept long-range ballistic missiles, even in space. These systems work in concert, forming a seamless network that detects, tracks, and assigns threats to the right interceptor. The defense is remarkable but not impenetrable. Each layer is tested by Iran's evolving tactics. Iron Dome handles the volume, David's Sling the complexity, and Arrow the high-altitude threats. The system's success depends on coordination, speed, and a steady supply of interceptors. Israel's shield is strong, but every attack pushes it closer to its limits. The battle is as much about endurance as it is about technology. The June 2025 conflict revealed the brutal math of modern missile warfare. Iran launched over 400 missiles and hundreds of drones. 500 missiles entered Israeli airspace. Of these, 243 were ignored, headed for open areas to conserve interceptors. The remaining 257 were intercepted at an impressive 86% success rate, but 36 missiles got through, causing 24 deaths and over 1,000 injuries. Even a high interception rate means real devastation when the volume is this high. Iran's strategy is validated. A few successful strikes inflict pain, sow fear, and achieve psychological victory. For Israel, the data is sobering. Its shield is strong but not unbreakable. The need for more interceptors and better detection is urgent. Iran has proven it can land blows despite Israel's advanced defenses. The war of numbers is relentless and the margin for error is razor thin. This is not just a military battle, it's an economic war of attrition. Each Israeli interceptor costs tens of thousands to millions. Iranian drones and rockets cost a fraction. Iran can launch hundreds of cheap weapons, forcing Israel to spend millions nightly. Israel's interceptor stockpile is finite and resupply is slow and costly. The economic strain ripples through society, businesses close, productivity drops, and tourism vanishes. The government faces tough choices: defense spending versus social needs. Iran bets it can exhaust Israel's resources before running out of its own. The ultimate fear: what happens when interceptors run out? Israel relies on US resupply, but if attacks outpace production, hard choices loom. The war of attrition is as much about budgets as it is about bombs. The psychological toll on Israelis is immense. Air raid sirens and the threat of missiles have become daily realities, shattering any sense of normalcy. Every successful Iranian strike is a blow to public morale and trust in leadership. Life is now organized around bomb shelters. Children learn to distinguish the sounds of war. The economy suffers as workers repeatedly seek cover. Iran's psychological warfare aims to make life so stressful that Israelis question the cost of continued conflict. The government projects strength but knows morale is finite. If the shield bends further, social cohesion could break. Maintaining unity and resolve is Israel's greatest challenge. The war is fought as much in minds as in the skies. Israel's defense relies heavily on US support: diplomatic, operational, and financial. The US rushes interceptor resupplies, keeping Israel's shield intact. American forces in the region intercept missiles and drones, adding another layer of defense. US Navy ships and fighter jets have downed dozens of threats before they reach Israel. American radar systems provide crucial early warnings. This deep integration, however, means Israel's actions are partly constrained by US strategy. Washington balances support with caution, wary of escalation. Meanwhile, Iran seeks support from China and Russia, raising the risk of great power involvement. The conflict is now a proxy for global rivalries, not just a regional feud. The future depends on shifting alliances and the priorities of powerful backers. The outcome will be shaped as much by international dynamics as by events on the ground. The central question is endurance. How long can Israel's defenses withstand a relentless barrage, and at what cost to its people and resources? Can Israel's expensive, finite shield truly outlast Iran's cheap, seemingly endless arsenal of missiles and drones, especially as the tempo of attacks increases? Iran's saturation strategy is working. By overwhelming Israel's defenses with sheer numbers, it exposes the limits of even the most advanced technology. Some missiles inevitably get through, inflicting not just physical damage but also psychological trauma and fear among civilians. Israel may win individual tactical battles, but the economic war is grinding it down, draining resources and forcing difficult choices about priorities and sustainability. Each night of defense costs millions of dollars, with every intercepted missile adding to the financial strain, while Iran sustains its offensive at a fraction of the cost, producing and launching missiles with relative ease. Israel is reassessing its strategy, realizing that pure defense is unsustainable in the long run, so it now targets Iran's launch sites directly, seeking to disrupt attacks at their source. If Israel's shield holds firm and it manages to degrade Iran's capabilities, deterrence may be restored, and a fragile balance maintained. If not, the consequences could be catastrophic, shattering Israeli morale, emboldening Iran, and potentially destabilizing the entire region. There is no purely technological solution to this conflict. No system is perfect, and every shield has its limits. The conflict is rooted in deeper political and ideological struggles that technology alone cannot resolve. The long-term outcome depends on finding a new strategic balance, one that addresses the underlying causes of hostility, not just on missile and interceptor performance but on diplomacy, resilience, and adaptability. The race between shield and sword is not just a contest of arms, but a struggle that will define the future of the Middle East for generations to come.